Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Retail Technology Conclave, the 17th edition, 2023. And today we are having this D2C summit. The panel that we are going to discuss today, building a successful D2C brand, strategies for customer acquisition, engagement, and retention. We have with us an August panel today. And I'm so happy to have a lot of variety and a lot of different industries, sectors, categories here in this 7 panelists that we have. I would start the panel by requesting our panelists to give a brief introduction, maybe in a sentence or two, about their brand. We can start with Romita and then Abhishek onwards.
Thanks, Hitesh. I'm Romita. I'm the founder and CEO of Foxtale. It's a D2C skincare brand that started in January 2021.
Hi, good morning. Thanks, Hitesh, for having me on this panel. So I run this company called Eggoz. We are building the first nationwide brand of eggs and egg-based products. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aarti. I run a brand called OZiva. We started the culture of clean and plant-based nutrition in India.
Hi, this is Aditya. I'm one of the co-founders of Beco. We help make sustainability more convenient for Indian households.
Hi, this is Manas. I run DrinkPrime. We are India's first and largest drinking water purifier on subscription.
Hi everyone, my name is Pradeep Krishnakumar. I run a brand called Zouk. We're a modern Indian lifestyle brand selling proudly Indian and PETA-approved vegan products in the bags, wallets and footwear category.
Hi everyone, I'm Priyanka. I'm the co-founder of the Sleep Company. We've got science-backed, patented comfort tech products that make people sleep and sit better.
Since Priyanka, the mic is with you. Sorry, you passed the ball. Okay. So we'll start with the Sleep Company. Okay. And first thing first, the question which I would like to ask is building a successful D2C brand. Okay. And this question is more from a Sleep Company perspective. Because the time is less, friends, I'm going to ask straight direct questions because we'll have to cover a lot more stuff with all our 7 panelists. So I just wanted to know what was the brand strategy you had in mind, because there are many players and Sleep Company is a few years old company. How did you get your differentiation strategy in this crowded traditional market?
No, thanks, Hitesh. When we started, we launched in October 19, right? When we started, there were obviously tons of legacy brands. Everybody knows Sleepwell, Kurlon, Duraflex, Century, Peps, blah, 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 right? Like every other category. And then when every month a new online brand was popping up, selling mattresses online, right? That was 3.5, 4 years back. And, we said the easiest thing was you take a product from offline, go sell online, eliminate the middleman, and sell at a lower price, which is what everybody was trying to do. And that was the easiest thing to do. Take a product from anybody, sell it online at a lower price, which I think a lot of startups also ended up doing in multiple categories. But I think, for me, and that's been what I would say differentiates us from others. And I come from a brand, a product background. I spent almost a decade with Procter & Gamble, right? I think what we were very clear on, we are a consumer brand. So we have to first design products that are for consumers, right? We have to design products that can genuinely solve a consumer problem. So the product is the first and the most important thing. We spend almost 1/3 of our life, 26 years of our life on a mattress. India is the second most sleep deprived country in the world. People don't even sleep 7 hours a day, which is the minimum prescribed by experts, right? So in an industry which was owned by brands selling foam, memory foam, coir, rebonded foam. We invented something very disruptive, which we call smart grid, which we have patent for, in an industry which had not seen innovation for 60 years. So to me, it's smartphone versus feature phone, right? That's how we look at it. So I think product is the first important thing, because you have to do something that can really change your lives of your consumers. Two, I said consumer brand. So brand becomes our second most important thing. We never think of ourselves. I think a lot of brands, when you talk to Amazon or Flipkart, they'll be like, oh, you're a seller on the platform. We are not a seller, we are a brand. I think second is very brand, and brand is very important. And I think any founder who's a consumer brand needs to be very clear on what is it that you're trying to solve for. What is it that you want your consumers to recognize you for? You think of your brand as a persona, as a real human being, and what should that human being's personality, proposition, vision be? That's very, very, very important, right? That what kind of a brand you want to build. We are very clear. We want to build a brand that stands for science and comfort. We want to make people sleep and sit better. So that's the only thing we will do. We will not do anything other than that. Third is, the most important, you're designing for whom? Consumer. So everything you do has to be for your consumer. And I'll give you an example. And I think that's the power of digital first, I think. And I tell this every time, to start a product, you don't have to be Unilevers or P&Gs. You don't have to have a network of 1 million stores or 1 lakh stores. To find the right product market fit, you can launch online. And you have the power of talking one-on-one to your consumers. That listening becomes very, very important. And that's, I think, the digital power. Till today, I would read every single review that comes on the sleep company. I would listen to hundreds of calls that our consumers do to us, right? And that consumer centricity becomes very, very important. That are you listening to your consumers, and how that flows into everything you do. So our consumers literally dictate what we launch tomorrow. Not just that, we started with digital first, which we saw early very good success. Our consumers kept on telling us that, it's a product that I'm going to spend 20,000 or 25,000, and it's a product that is going to be with me for the next 10 years. I need to touch and feel it. And
Yes.
it became very clear to us that we need to go offline. But when we said, okay, we need to go offline, everybody in the market told us, guys, this industry, you cannot build an offline brand without going to retailers and distributors, right? It's a very GT, retailer, distributor-led market. But what was our DNA? Our DNA was consumer first. Experience first, right? Easiest option was me going to retailers saying, okay, launch my product in your stores, getting 200 retailers on board and doing it. But would that take care of my consumer? I don't think so. The experience of walking into a 300, 350 square foot, a retailer franchisee store is very different, right? And we decided to go against that, and we decided for us consumer experience was very important, our technology was very important. So we said we need to have our own stores where we can control consumer experience. We continue to delight them and we continue to listen to them, right? And that's why I think we took the hard call of opening our own stores, and to make sure we could drive education around our products, which was the first thing I told you. Two, we could continue to build a brand and not just a seller. And third, we could continue to delight our consumer. Today, we're going to be just touching 50 plus our own stores in the next 10 days, right? And
Wow.
I would say that call has worked out very well. So that's why I think it's important. And that recipe is different for different brands, different products. I think for us, brand, product, consumer, right? I think are the 2-3 things which are the most important, which have helped us in this journey. And our intent would be to continue build on that journey.
Okay, well said. Brand, product, and consumer. That's what Priyanka Salot, co-founder of the sleep company, has succinctly in the last 5 minutes, given the whole story and the positioning and the reason of what sleep company stands for: consumer first, brand, product, and consumer. With this, I want to go to eggs, and that is Abhishek. Abhishek, you are in a category or a product which people would have not thought of a couple of years back or maybe few years back, that I will be branding eggs. Now you are in the branded egg category the way I am positioning it, or let's say as a layman I am telling it. What was the conviction that you had that this is a product that I'm going to brand it, because it's a very the characteristics of eggs. And this is what I wanted to know, and I wanted Abhishek to share with us, because there is a business case here, and he has made a very good business and a brand out of this simple idea. First, tell us the idea, and then how you have built this the way Priyanka explained us.
Yeah, so thanks, Hitesh. That's a good question. So I'm personally am a big lover of eggs. You can call me the egghead in our company. Uh, Eggs are the product where my, you can say, the cooking skills get limited. So I only know how to cook eggs and can survive off eggs at any point of time. When we started Eggoz back in 2017, the initial model by which we started is not the avatar that we see today, and we also did not start with eggs in the first place. We wanted to do work in the clean nutrition space, and also wanted to work in how can we improve the current supply chain for fresh food, and how do we build it so that the fresh food which is available for consumers, and as we proceed further into the future, how do we make it more clean and devoid of chemicals, and how do we introduce technology to farmer value system and build a new kind of business model over there. Now, eggs is something that personally is very close to me. But what was also close to me was that I eat a lot of eggs, but I was never, you can say, happy with the quality of eggs that are available today. And the initial thought with Eggoz was not that we'll build a brand. The initial thought was that let's solve the problems which are out there. So problems are that in India, while we are the second largest consumer of eggs in the world, the consumption is growing at tremendous pace of 15% year on year, even though we don't import it from any other country. We consume close to 40 crore eggs on a daily basis. The sad reality is, almost all of the 40 crore eggs in retail are not fresh. They're typically 8 to 10 days old, transported in ambient supply chain. So it leads to nutritional deterioration by the time it reaches the consumer. That is why many consumers have experienced the typical eggy smell, ande wali smell, or say, have witnessed the runniness of the yolk and the albumin inside of it. The consequence of that is the eggs are not as nutritious as they are supposed to be. And second, when you look at the farmer value chain, because today it behaves like a commodity, package penetration is less than 3% in this sector. So there is huge pressure on farmers to cut down cost, and because of which there are heavy usage of chemical ingredients like concentrates, antibiotics in this sector, because fresh ingredients like corn, soya, DRB, and all of these things, these commodities fluctuate a lot. So there's a lot of input pressure on feed prices for farmers. So all in all, when we see the sector, eggs can very well solve the malnutrition problem that we still have in our country. We have more than 80% of people in India are protein deficient, 75% have vitamin D or B12 deficiency. And everyone acknowledges that eggs can solve it. Even all the say the central government, state governments acknowledge it, and they are promoting it in their way. So we found that these are the problem, and we realized that these are worth solving. That if we can solve the entire value chain from the ground up, we can create a better product. And then if we are able to create a better product, we can also brand it and aspire to create the first nationwide brand of eggs in India, which is not there. So that is how we started. In 2017, we started with our own poultry farm in Bihar, ran poultry farms in Bihar, MP, UP for 3 years of our initial journey. And once we were confident that we have identified the process to produce a standardized egg product which is shelled and cannot be quality check post procurement.
Sorry
we
to
decided
interrupt.
to launch.
Is there a process to produce the egg? I mean, I know, but you have standardized that process?
We have standardized the process,
Okay.
and it largely depends on how you're feeding the birds, because you are what you eat. So while it stands true for humans, it also stands true for the living birds as well. So we were able to find a data driven model for, and also from our own experience of running farms, that what is the right feed formulation for birds, how can we completely eradicate chemical ingredients from poultry feed, and how does it impact the end quality of eggs. And we were really surprised by results. So the quality of egg really improves. You are able to get eggs that don't smell at all. The yolk turns bright orange, the eggs are more tasty, and these are all
So this is the data-driven model that you have implemented.
And second is the health and well-being of the birds, how comfortable you are keeping the birds in the poultry farms, and how you are taking care of them, how you are identifying diseases on a predictive fashion, and how well you are solving them.
Excellent, Abhishek. The reason why I wanted Abhishek to share this is, if you want the brand to be created, at the core of the brand is always the product. And what Priyanka and Abhishek have mentioned, and especially in the category of eggs, who would have thought that I'll be creating first nationwide brand in eggs? And Abhishek has created that. So this is where the process that he explained, or even Priyanka explained, and we'll ask our other panelists also, is the testimony to the fact that if you solve the problem and use something like data-driven model for an egg, is something which is fantastic, Abhishek. You have used a lot of science there, so that's a good insight for us. From Abhishek, so from eggs, I'll go to now drinking water, and Manas, you will help me there. Okay, Manas, you are into the drinking water on a subscription basis. मतलब मैं अभी हिंदी में बोल सकता हूँ इसको, मतलब हम लोग पानी पिएंगे बट हर महीने पानी के लिए उसके लिए आप लोग सब्सक्राइब करना पड़ेगा, जैसे OTT और ये सब है, समथिंग लाइक दैट. इट बिकम्स थोड़ा बैठता नहीं है व्हेन इफ आई टॉक इन हिंदी, और इवन इफ आई थिंक इन इंग्लिश. इट्स नॉट अबाउट द लैंग्वेज, इट्स अबाउट कि सब्सक्रिप्शन मॉडल. बट this is the way we are consuming water. So years back or decades back, when Bisleri had started, nobody had ever thought of that, we are going to consume a packaged drinking water bottle at that time during those years, decades back. But it happened. But now we have got one more model, which is a subscription based model. अब ये subscription based model क्या है? मतलब अभी आप guys just relax, this is only for water. आगे और क्या क्या subscribe करना पड़ेगा, we don't know. But please tell us about this, and this idea is fantastic. It's very innovative. What was the math behind this idea? Because we are ultimately into business, right? And you are funded, and you have to run a brand and run a business. So there has to be business logic, maths behind it. So please explain that part of it.
Sure. So thanks. Hi everyone. Manas here from DrinkPrime. So when we started DrinkPrime, right, we started with consumer first, and the best part was the consumers were people like us, people in their late 20s, early 30s, sort of new into a city, migrant. And what we saw is that about 70-80% of people like us used to rely on bottled water, which is those 20-liter Bisleri cans or normal unbranded water cans, right? And even after water purifiers being in existence for more than 10, 15, 20 years, we have all seen ads in IPL and World Cups. We have all seen their representatives knocking on our doors to give us a demo and whatnot. Still, the water purifier penetration in India is less than 10%. So why is that, right? The first reason is, unlike a TV or a fridge, like I would not tell you to subscribe to a TV or a fridge, but I would insist that you subscribe to a water purifier. And here's my logic, right? Unlike a TV or a fridge, the price that you pay upfront, there are multiple ways that you can sort of make the price more affordable. There are numerous companies which can give you EMI schemes and whatnot. But with the water purifier, the price that you pay upfront is not the total price, which means every year, let's say you buy a water purifier worth 10K to 12K, you will spend anywhere between 3 to 5K every year to maintain the water purifier. Also, the water purifier market, right? Let me talk a little bit about what happens if you try to go to a store and try to buy a water purifier. You walk into the store, the first question that someone asks you at the store is, sir or ma'am, what is your budget? Now, as a consumer, what are you looking at? If you step back for a minute and think about it, you want a solution that will give you safe, clean and healthy drinking water. You're not looking at, let's say my budget is 5,000 rupees. Does that mean that I should not have access to safe, clean and healthy drinking water? I should only have that access if my budget is 15,000 or 20,000 rupees? Probably not, right? So the market is sort of, or the industry is built on, is built on a lot of input metrics jargons because nobody was really focusing on the output, or there was no way to differentiate the output. So we said that let's not focus on the input metrics, but let's focus on the output, and we will decide actively what should be your purification method, not depending on how much money you have in your wallet, but depending on your area's input water quality, which is what we do, which is customized water purifiers on a subscription basis. So all of this was done trying to solve a real world problem that me and my other co-founder Vijender were facing, and trying to start from there and go one step at a time. The company did a couple of pivots before arriving this, but all of this is very logical if you keep the end consumer at the mind and start building about it. We never set out to build a consumer brand. We never set out to create a category, disrupt a category, nothing like that. We wanted to make our and people like our lives a little bit easier. And today with about 1.5 lakh subscribers across 3-4 cities, hopefully we are on the process of doing that.
Excellent, Manas. With this, let me go to Romita, Foxtale. You are in the skincare category. That smile says everything because I think she predicted my question. And this is, I have a problem if I have to give something to my wife. Why should I, select Foxtale? And definitely you will answer that. But before that, what was the raison d'etre behind this idea of Foxtale? Because you are hardly 2 years old brand. What made you enter this market, which is extremely overcrowded with strong multinationals, national players, and strong D2C brands as well?
Thanks, Hitesh. I think it's not a mystery that skincare is crowded. It is something that I think I knew a lot more closely than just as a user. I was a venture capitalist before this. I was leading their skincare thesis as such. And one of the things as a result of that, I myself had spoken to 108 skincare brands. And every time I would come out of the meeting and talk to my partners, and I would say, treadmill business hai. Ek coffee popular hota hai, sab coffee launch karte hai. Green apple popular hota hai, sab green apple launch karte hai. And in the world of Amazon and Nykaa, what truly is the barrier to entry, right? Anyone can enter and probably create a 2-3 CR brand in this category. However, when you go deeper into the P&L, this would translate into them just launching multiple SKUs. So, is saal green apple popular hai, green apple is growing really fast. Suddenly next year it stops growing and next year coffee becomes their most hit SKU. And that would, every time you launch a new SKU, you have to invest in branding, marketing that SKU, right? It is not as simple as if a user thinks your green apple is good, they are not going to think your coffee is also good. You have to build that trust all over again, and that would translate into a lot of cash burn, one. And this is also a time when we still have a Fair and Lovely, we still have a Himalaya, we still have a Pond's that's growing double digits year on year. Right? And if you look at the repeat rates in the GT market, jo hum refill rate bolte hai, that's also closer to 90%. That means most retail, 90% of the retail stores reorder every month. So, and third, these incumbent brands have an NPS of 90% plus. So the user is still loyal. The user is still sticky, but they are somehow not able to find that stickiness in the recent D2C new age brands that have come in the 5-7 years. Which meant two things. Users want more than what a Pond's and Fair and Lovely have to offer. But when they try to go and get something more, they are not even happy with the basic minimal that a Pond's and Fair and Lovely was delivering. And with that being the gap, right? Ki repeat rate nahi aa raha hai. And if you solve for repeat rate, you can really scale this category to roughly 1,000 crore as a brand and build profitability and build loyalty. We went out to search for what is the answer. Why is the repeat rate low? And that was when, this is late 2020, I spoke to a lot of people. I was 26 back then, so a lot more enthusiastic than I am probably now. Our sense of activity was high. and spoke to 937 women across 10 cities in India. And it's a beautiful primary research paper that we have that we give to all employees that when they join. But two big things is what we learned. That what we end up seeing as trends, right? Ayurvedic, science-backed, and falana dhigra, the core or the cause of it is really this chase for efficacy. As women, we all have a perception of what our problem is. It can be pigmentation, it can be dark circles, it can be dark lips, whatever it's that we strongly feel about. And when we pick a product, we expect it to deliver results to us. And this Ayurvedic trend or this science-backed trend are just effects. It's marketing perception. If today I feel Ayurvedic will give me result, Ayurvedic starts trending. If today we feel science-backed will give us results, that starts trending. But there's a difference between cause and effect. The cause, the core of this chase is for efficacy. And second, India is a 2-minute noodle market. So we can't wait for 3-4 weeks to give us results. We need those results in the first 3 to 4 uses. In fact, Amazon data will tell you that all skincare reviews come within the first 3 to 4 days of delivery. So you rate a product as a 5-star or 1-star within first 3 to 4 uses. So A, efficacy, B, instant efficacy, right? And that was a product-led problem. And then I started looking, I'm not a product person, I'm a business. And at that time, very honestly, just a 26-year-old trying to build 1,000 crore skincare brand with 20% EBITDA. And that's when we interviewed a lot of people, for 52 in fact. And one of the guys that I interviewed, he was the person he was the global head of R&D for Unilever and then eventually for Himalaya. And he's the guy, he's called the Fair and Lovely man because he's the guy who worked on the Fair and Lovely formulation that ended up scaling Fair and Lovely and the Himalaya Neem, which are 2 category winners for skincare. And him and I met. There's another story on how we met and what we discussed.
And Jab we met, yes.
Jab we met, yeah. And he was the first employee and very honestly, in all senses, a partner to start this company with. And we basically started with this when I asked him, ye solve ho sakta hai ki nahi efficacy? And the true honest answer is that you can create products that are 98 to 99% efficacious with 70% of the population. So there will always be a 30% exclusion set. But how do you identify this exclusion set? Because skin is not as simple as dry and oily. There are more than 400 skin types in India which are genetically driven. We live in different humidity conditions. We all have different, like we are listening, right? Protein, carb intake, water intake. We have different internal and external stress hormones, right? I can be a 29 and PCOS. Someone else can be a mother at 29. Someone else can have some other internal hormonal factor and external. We can be more or less exposed to sun damage. So how do you work with so many permutation and combination? So a great product or the efficacy of the product is driven by 3 things. Great ingredients, great formulation, but great testing. But how do you do this level of testing? And that's where we found an edge. First set of 4 products were tested on 5,000 women, which represented 200 skin types, 110 nutritional quotients, 300 humidity conditions, ranges, etc. Today, before any launch, it's tested on 11,000 people before it actually goes into market. And that's honestly how we started. We started with 4 products. So what everyone says clutter, mere paas to clutter nahi hai, mere paas 11 product hai. And we are 150 crore with 11 products in skincare that are an ASP of 400 rupees, 350 rupees. So the decluttering doesn't happen at how many brands are there. If it's a category that's winning, like Priyanka said, she had so many brands that were entering the category. So I think there's a perception around skincare because a lot of journalists have written about decluttering. I think there are a lot of consumer categories that are cluttered, but I think decluttering should happen at an individual brand level because at the end of the day, if I have 100 SKUs, I have working capital stuck, my cash burn is stuck. So I'm not investing in my consumers, I'm not investing in my brand, I'm just investing in building my inventory. And that's a problem I never had. And when you make good products that you know how it works, you can market it well, you sell it well, and most importantly, you have high repeat rates. So my unique customer retention is close to 60% within 12 months.
Wow.
I have products with 70-80% customer retention. So honestly, that's just the truth.
You have given the answer, but still in the next round, I'm going to ask you the question, how did you make? So this is a strategic round. Next round would be more, how you went about doing it or certain tactical questions. And in that, you can please answer how you went about building this 150 crores in 1.5, 2 years, right? 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go to my favorite subject of sustainability. And here we have got Aditya with us. Aditya, how is Beco impacting the environment? And please tell us about what was, again succinctly, what was your raison d'etre to start Beco? Because we want to know the core of the offering, the value proposition that you have.
Sure. Thanks, Hitesh. Actually, this is very interesting because I was on a scuba diving trip in Maldives, and I was almost 40-meter deep in the ocean, and I actually seen this food wrapper which was floating. And I think it's very common, especially in more touristy areas. Even in specific scuba sites, you see some of these problems. In Mumbai, you see it in Chapati, in Juhu Beach, at all of these places. And this was this bright orange in color, which really got my attention. And when you're 40 meters below the sea, besides a few species, there's nothing really much that comes to your light. So I think I took this wrapper back with me while on the boat, and I was trying to figure, have I seen this before? It looked familiar. It looked something which had just been thrown very recently, and I took it back and I asked my father that, Dad, have you seen, like, Papa, aapne pehle dekha hai kabhi? And he said that it actually belongs to a chocolate which was discontinued in the 1990s.
Oh.
So it was a prequel to the Snickers bar that we see today. And I think we were very surprised and taken aback that something that we are throwing today, the waste that we are generating today, is not just going to come back to haunt us, but all our future generations as well. And I think we realize there are a lot of organizations and groups of people and government focusing on waste segregation, recycling, collection, all of this. But no one was really telling the consumer who wanted to become more eco-friendly that why don't you make a smarter or a greener choice. So I think the project that we undertook upon ourselves was, back then I just graduated from my engineering, which I did at BITS Pilani, and when we were a part of a lot of beach cleanups in Mumbai, so helping, it became a sort of a community thing where a lot of people came together, helped clean the beach. And we realized that every waste that has been thrown out there or lands up there could actually be avoided if, as a consumer, I don't end up creating that waste. And we said that today there is no solution to a global ever increasing problem of plastic waste. That how can I convince the consumer and motivate the consumer to take a more eco-friendly choice? So I think our journey simply started from there on, talking to the consumer and building consumer through a journey where anyways the consumption is growing at a very rapid pace. I think most people here are betting on the Indian consumption story. But how do we make the consumption more responsible without really having to burn a hole in their pocket? And I think as an Indian, as a middle class Indian, I would say I would always think value first, where if there's a value for money, it doesn't mean the price has to be the lowest. But if I can build that value for money in a product that can have a positive impact on the environment, and in conjunction with the positive impact on their health, positive impact on their loved ones, and create that space where you live a more plastic-free and a chemical-free life, then we thought that this would be a very interesting idea for a country like India, which is just beginning to see a lot of dispensable income. So I feel our journey started from a simple idea of how do we help making eco-friendly choices easy, to getting it at the same cost parity than most of our products. So we operate in the home care section where these are daily use products. So we make products like tissue papers, garbage bags, laundry detergents, dishwashing liquids, floor cleaning liquids, bamboo toothbrushes, etc. And these are products that we use every day. So how do we create that impact on the environment side while motivating the consumer and now businesses to really change their product choices without really having, and making it as affordable as possible, making it as accessible as possible. And efficacy, I think, is very key even in a category like ours where people are having a basic expectation that the product needs to deliver that. So I think it started off as a passion project on helping the world become a better place, and eventually led to a consumer brand that we feel very proud of because personally, I think it's a marriage between business and social impact. And not many businesses today have been built that way. So I think we like to do business differently, and the reason for starting Beco was honestly to leave behind a better planet.
Excellent. Business with social impact. This is the core of the positioning of Beco. With this, we go to Pradeep and Zouk. I saw you are carrying your brand with you here.
Always. Yeah.
Always. Yes, that's the spirit. How, okay, so same question, but we also want to know your story that in this, again, the crowded market and so many brands and very successful brands, and Zouk has done pretty well. So what is the, you can say, the value proposition that Zouk brings to the table?
Sure. Yeah. So, at Zouk, when we started, so it started when my co-founder Disha, as part of a course at IIM Ahmedabad, went to Kutch. She saw a lot of local handicraft products, all very beautiful. Batchmates, etc., loved the products. Of course, nobody bought any, right? They said that, "Nahi, this doesn't fit into modern sensibilities, ye jhola bag types hai, too loud colors, etc." It said, there seems to be something we can build. Even today, and even at that time, most women who would work would carry laptops in world famous backpack brands like Lenovo, Dell, HP, who don't want to be in that business, right? And of course, they would carry a handbag for carrying all the other stuff. And we said, hey, there's something that we can do from a functionality point of view. We looked at all the bags brands. At that point, most of them had like very Western designs. In fact, if you remove their tags and place it on a table, it's very hard to even say which bag is from which brand. And I'll take the luxury brands out, right? They have their mark, and I think they truly understand product innovation, they truly understand brand building, etc. But otherwise, it always used to be a distribution-led play, right? And no product play, no brand play, right? So we said we should bring something different. It was the time when at least we felt very proud about India. We felt there's a strong Indian cultural story to bring out to the world. That's how it started, right? As atypical as any MBA grad, we did no TAM study. So even today when people ask us TAM kitna hai, SAM kitna hai, Dhand kitna hai, Bhed kitna hai, I said, boss, forget all of that, right? What we did actually was took about 6 to 8 months to develop the product, because we don't come from a manufacturing background or a business background or any such thing. Maybe that allowed us to think more freely rather than hearing things like, is industry mein aisa hi hota hai?
Exactly.
Right? We started with exhibitions, Hitesh, right? Literally sort of, again, unlike what we were taught in school to say, survey bhara ho to pata chal jayega, how many will buy this? We said, nahi, product le jate hain, let's see. We had friends who were very kind enough to share some space for in some of the exhibitions. We did about 50 plus exhibitions and learned a lot in terms of what the consumer looks for in the product, what do they like, what do they dislike, what pricing works, etc. And that's how sort of Zouk was born. And from there on, of course, we realized that offline is hard. We were literally doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday exhibitions, Monday giving rest to the legs, Tuesday doing reconciliation, Wednesday preparing for the next exhibition. And we said, yeah, this is not going to scale. So we sort of shifted to an online first business, which allows you to do what Priyanka described, to say that you can serve pan-India out of a small place in a small part of Mumbai. That's how we started. And we've then, while we knew brand is important, and brand is very important in sort of the bags and handbags market more than many other categories, in fact, it was actually product that allowed us to tell customers what do we do, who we are, etc., combined with what we did on social media to kind of keep telling that same story. Also because Disha and me are all very passionate about this, right? And that's how sort of the journey sort of began, with the idea of saying proudly Indian products. In fact, last time when Prime Minister Modi went to the US, some of our bags went as gifts as well to global CEOs.
Excellent.
Right? And I think that plus COVID and then shift to online plus big push on Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I think today when we go anywhere, we feel proud about being from India, right? In fact, I met somebody very senior, I think he's also a very senior member of RAI yesterday, and he used to say, earlier days when we used to go abroad, we had to first sell the concept of India and convince them that India is a safe place to do business with, and then only would I sell my brand and my products. Today, we no longer have to do the first bit. We of course still need to do the second and third bit and etc. Right? So I think that shift has also helped us as a brand, but that's been that edge to say, hey, this is the difference in the product that we will bring about. Also, we said that we have to work for the modern Indian women, right? That is the consumer that nobody is building for, right? And consistently, that's what we've done across sort of all the products and categories we operate in.
Excellent, Pradeep. Aarti, coming to OZiva, plant-based nutrition. It is okay. So, how different is a plant-based nutrition? We have seen again the same question. N number of brands, Ayurvedic, and we have got so many corporate startups, D2C brands, etc. All of them, many of them are into this category. But how is OZiva different? And because I want to know about your differentiation vis-a-vis others, that's the first question. And the second question is, how are you planning? Because now we'll enter into the second segment also of scaling up, So, and how you are planning to scale up the current business that you have.
So thanks, first of all. Good question. A lot of people are confused. What is
OZiva.
plant-based nutrition,
Plant-based
right?
nutrition, sorry.
I think even before that, as I said, we are into clean and plant-based nutrition. What clean basically means is that your products are devoid of any harmful contaminants, right? So for example, when we eat food, the typical FSSAI guidelines just are very basic in India. We still need to go a long way when it comes to regulation. But there could be heavy metals present in the product that you're eating, right? We have seen the cases in the past, without naming the companies, like lead was present in the food product, right? And when we say we are India's first certified clean label brand by USCLP, basically, our products are tested for almost 300 contaminants that could be present in food or food supplements, ranging from, all the heavy metals, as I mentioned earlier, to industrial contaminants, right? Something that you don't put, I don't think so brands put as a part of the matlab ki yaar mujhe heavy metals dalna hai isme, right? It's just because, you need to be extremely careful about your supply chain. It could be coming from the soil, right, where the crops are grown, and hence a lot of investment is needed in the supply chain as well. That's what about clean nutrition, right? When I say plant-based, right, so, I want people to raise their hands, right? I have a very simple question and I'll ask, do you know where is your multivitamin coming from? How is your multivitamin derived? Anybody?
Where does the multivitamin come from?
हम इतने multivitamin खाते हैं.
Sun?
Vitamin C. No.
Sun is for D.
So typically the multivitamin supplements that most of us are having today, right? They are typically petrochemical derivative, right? Crude oil है, उसको refinery से जाता है, उसका by product बनता है, उससे multivitamins बनते हैं, right? A bit of my background, my mom comes from a healthcare professional. I have a lot of doctors, right, in my family. And growing up, I saw कि यार यहाँ पे तो कोई innovation ही नहीं हो रहा है इस पूरी industry में. It's the same product, बस label change किया जाता है. Salt A plus Salt B is a new formulation altogether. How do we innovate, right, in this category? Which is where we said that, for example, we derive iron, right, which is one of the basic micronutrient that our body is missing in, from curry patta, right? We standardize it, right? It's a plant extract. We use plant extracts to derive micronutrients, which has taken us almost 6 years, right? We are speaking about bioavailability, right? It's not about कि यार आप 10,000 mcg खा लो फिर 12,000 कर दो, right? Because the body, if it doesn't absorb, it's all excreted from the body. Most important conversation is it getting absorbed? Is it bioavailable, right? That conversation is something that we need to have in our country, right? So we need to look at supply chain. We need to look at how micronutrients, macronutrients are derived, right? And at the same time, can we derive it from a lot of plant-based sources was the first thing that we went and solved for. Talking about Ayurveda, right? I think Ayurveda is great. We said, ashwagandha kha lo, shatabdi kha lo, but kitna khao? What is the dosage? What is it extracted for? Because then ashwagandha could be great for your sexual health, it could be great for your mental health, but it's what phytonutrient is it extracted for defines the role that it plays in your body, right? Which is where we said, plant-based Ayurveda, I think they're all in the similar lines. We deal in almost like, there are more than 20,000 medicinal herbs that India grows, right? What we put is a layer of science on top of it, that how do we bring standardization to this entire process so that it is accepted by the Western world as well. Today, we have more than 2+ patents, right? We have more than 20+ clinical studies done on our product, that how do you derive things from your natural sources, but at the same time, you put a layer of science to it and marry both the things. Like most of the people said on the panel, right? For a lot of digital first brands, it all starts with product innovation. So for us as well, the journey started with, is there a scope of innovation in the category, right? We deal in the category which is OTC, over the counter jo products milte hain, multivitamins, proteins, right? In OZiva, O stands for originality, basically innovation. If we think that there's no innovation to be done in a space, we don't launch a product, right? We said there's something new that we need to bring onto the table. If we are not doing that, then there's basically nothing to be done. Another example, for example, right? We talk about bone health, right? 30 ki umar ke baad aapki women's bone health, right? It's a huge problem, right? What is the solution out there? Calcium. For the longest 10 years, I saw only calcium being sold. Next thing came calcium plus D3. You marry both the things, right? Ki calcium plus D3 kar do. Nobody today is talking about how complex a women's body is. There are so many hormonal health changes that we go through right from puberty to menopause, right? That our estrogen levels, our progesterone levels, right? There's so many hormonal complications and a lot of issues that we face today, right? From bone health to conceiving, right? It's defined by our hormones. That's a conversation that we are having. That's something that we're bringing into our products. So a lot of science, and that's what we do.
Excellent. Now this question to the audience is, after hearing all our 7 founders, and anybody can, we don't need a mic, but Meenakshi will help us. What are the key, and answer in one word only, you know, what is the key to their building a successful brand, you know? What is that key word that comes? Please. Gap in the market, yes. Next. Innovation. Social impact. Customer centric. Okay. Segmentation, yes. Anything else? Pricing. Okay, I will take that, but we have not yet discussed, but they know their business models better. Yes. Passion. Okay, so this was one of the things that I could see when they spoke. Okay, so one is passion, and this is not my judgment, but the way I have studied them in the last almost 40 minutes. And this is, one is the passion, other is one more P. Issues what they faced in their lives. Okay, well taken. ठीक है, that's good. Perseverance. Okay, good. Passion है इसलिए perseverance है. But patience. Okay, we'll get a list of P's here today, and I can tell you those P's are there here. But the way I want to, because this topic is about building a successful D2C brand, this is not only for them, this is for all of us. So, because I have outlined this P everywhere, and that is the product. Okay, so one was passion, that you were right, that we all saw and could hear them in their, you know, the way they spoke. Second is the product part of it. And third is how they have positioned their brand. So the positioning of their brand is something which also is a key factor for building a successful brand, whether it's a D2C brand or any other brand, that's fine. But positioning is the core. And with these 3 P's, and we have got many: pricing, packaging, and so on and so forth. We'll go to the next part, and that is, as I told you, we'll now get into one level from 36,000 or whatever that feet was. We'll come to the now technical part of it. How do you acquire the customer? Okay, and this is a question where, since we are 7 of us, I would request if we can keep 2 minutes each. And you know, with the time, and give that, then it will help me to ask you one more question. I have got 3, 4, 5 questions with me. We'll try how much we can accommodate, but if 2 minutes are there, then you know, that would be easier for me to ask more questions, and that would be easier for our audience as well. So the question here is, how do you acquire your customers? So for you, Romita, the question is the same. How did you achieve your 150 crores in 18 months time?
See, I think...
what did you do? Now that we have got your story, your positioning and everything, what did you do?
Yeah, so I think the right answer, a lot of everyone's more experience, I think they'll give the better and the more right and more experienced answer. I can only tell what worked for us.
Yes, please.
See, when we started off, we were very focused on who our ICP is, which is ideal customer profile, and that's something that we kept working on month. And when we say ICP, it kept expanding. And with that in mind, we were able to, there are, in my head, 3 very specific pillar to it. Once you identify whom you are talking to, what you tell them is very critical. So content, what we said, how we said it, who talked about us, whether it's an influencer, whether it is an ad that we are doing, or whether it's a journalist talking about us. Where are we getting covered? How are we getting covered? And what are we being spoken to? What is the content that's going out around it? Second is the platforms that we went to. Because we were focused on conversion, I don't think we had to innovate on the platform, right? Your Metas and the Googles of the world have cracked conversion as a funnel, especially at a scale when you are starting off. I think today when we started hitting like 80 crores, 90 crores, we had to expand and think a lot more and be innovative about that. But shuru mein Meta and Google work tremendously well. You are small, they can work for you at scale, etc. So I think there was no innovation as such there, but getting the right people who understand Meta and Google. Because while everyone talks about Facebook marketing, everyone talks about Google marketing, as an employer, I can tell you it is hard to find the guy or girl who technically understands the platform, but also is agile to work on the CPMs, the CACs, the conversions, the ROAS, etc. And third is creating your product, right? We say beauty assistants in the offline world, but at the end of the day, when I'm online, my website is my beauty assistant. She's the one selling, right? And there the conversion of the platform is very critical. In India, I think the average is 1.5%, 2% conversion. When we started off, we were there, and for the last 12 months, we've very happily been at 6% conversion. And for us, treating that tech as a product, not just as a website where we are listing products, not just as a website where we are talking about the products, but really as a website that helps you make the purchase that you want to do, and stitching all of this through a data analytics lens. Who sees our ad? Is she a heavy spender? Is she a not heavy spender? Is she a benefit-led purchaser? Is she an ingredient-led purchaser? Is she a cleanser purchaser, fundamentals, or does she want to build routine, cleanser, toner, moisturizer? So understanding that user from the time she sees your ad to the time she actually executes on the cart, I think that was very critical. So for us, very honestly, majority of that 150 crore scale has been through very thorough execution on conversion. And I think very intelligent customer intelligent execution on conversion. Today we are also going through a phase. The moment we hit 100, we started going through a phase where we needed the conversion budgets to start going into brand budget, right? Where it doesn't just matter who is converting, it also matters how many people know, so that your top of the funnel is built out for the coming months. But that's a journey I think the rest of the panel would be better able to answer. But for us, it was primarily executive on conversion.
Thanks, Romita. Priyanka, I'll come to you. After Priyanka, I'll be asking Abhishek. But Priyanka, how did you achieve this 50 store and the top line that you have achieved and the brand that you have created? How?
Yeah, so I think very similar to what Romita said, but I'll tell you the transition that has happened,
Yes.
right? I mean, for us, the brand's now almost doing around ARR of 400 crores, right? I think in the beginning, everything is about conversion and performance marketing. Yes, you need to understand your consumer, your cohorts, your communication. But consistency of communication is very important. I'll tell you now, we're going to finish 4 years next month. For the 4 years, we have been using the same tagline. You know, in PNG, we used to laugh about the fact that every time a brand manager or the marketing head changes, your ad changes. Because consumer doesn't even know your brand. It's you get bored of the communication and you change it, right? But it takes decades to build a brand, right? So I think communication consistency is very important, guys, which I feel is missing in a lot of consumer D2C brands today. We change our colors every month on Instagram. TSC has the same blue color since 4 years, because I think that's very, very, very important, right? So content, positioning, everything taken care of. But I think in the early days, it's only performance marketing. If somebody comes and tells me, oh, you know, this money we are spending, it's driving awareness, but don't see the ROI of it. To be honest, it makes no sense. Any awareness that does not translate into business, and for different categories, it can be different things. You can say 3 months mein business aana chahiye, 6 months mein business aana chahiye, but business to aana chahiye na. If that awareness does not give you business, it's not an awareness worth driving, right? So for 3 years, we were focusing only and only Meta and Google. And for us, Google, because it's a very high intent purchase category. You don't buy a mattress because मुझे एक mattress देखने में अच्छा लगा तो let me buy it, right? You buy a mattress because you need it. You need it either because you're changing a house, replacing, renovating, or you actually started having a problem, back pain, some body pain problem, and you realize it's time to change your mattress. It's high intent, right? So that's what was very, very important. So I think performance very important, right? Now, and you will realize, guys, as you scale up, the only companies who end up making money is Google and Meta.
Yes.
Right? So if you're smart enough and you want to deliver a sustainable EBITDA positive business for your shareholders, for your investors, you need to get out of Meta and Google's, right? For us, we've been scaling up for the last 12 months in spite of the fact that our performance marketing spends have been flat for the 12 months, right? And that is when I think for us, a year back the journey started, guys. Now what? I just can't keep on increasing my performance marketing spends because that will only take your CACs up. Right, that's not going to help you. Yes, you'll burn money, you know, and it's easy to scale up and burning money. Trust me, building 1,000 crore brand is not difficult when you've got investor money to burn. But building 1,000 crore brand, if you want to be EBITDA positive, is difficult, right? Because then you need to do the things right. And I think that's where it becomes that consistent communication that I was talking about. How do you educate consumers? How do you build brand? But that's also, you have to measure it. Guys, if you just tell me, oh, I'm spending 1 crore on building brand and you have no measurable data analytics to show that you're really building a brand or not is important. For example, what we started doing, how do we measure it? Can I afford spending 4 crores on brand building? No. Right? But can I pick one city, Bangalore, right? And say, guys, I'm going to try build my brand in Bangalore. Let's say I open 10 stores in Bangalore. I do a lot of other brand building ATL touch points, whatever works for the category. For me, print works very well. Regional TV works well, but I'm going to spend a certain money in Bangalore. But am I going to see what is my top of mind awareness in my category? What is the consideration for my brand? What is the unaided awareness of my brand moved in Bangalore from A to B versus, let's say, what it has moved in Hyderabad? That's important to understand. Am I becoming the top 3 known brands in that one city where I did the test and qualified what works to build the brand? And then in how many months? We, for example, today have a very clear model that whenever I spend money, I know in 60 days, 45 to 60 days, the top line starts showing up in that city. That's important to understand, not after 6 months or 1 year. Right? So I think that was important. So we go very city by city on building the brand and we see the P&L of that city. Today, I am a bit positive in my main cities, right? Because we've achieved a scale, we've built density, and when you start building the brand and you cross a certain threshold, that's where you start seeing the magic and your reliance on performance marketing and reliance on Google and Facebook go down, right? And I think that's what we are learning today also in our journey. But I think that's the point I wanted to share, that, how if you want to deliver a sustainable, look at any P&G's or Unilever's brand or Marico or any brands in the world, guys. They don't spend more than 15-16% on their marketing, or actually single higher digits. 9-10% is bulk of the FMCG brands spend on their marketing. But open the P&L of any D2C startup brand and you would find marketing spends from the tune of 25% to the tune of 55%. That will never you can never go from a minus 40% EBITDA to a plus 10, 15, 20%, whatever is your objective, right? So I think that's very, very important to understand, that how do you acquire consumers in a very responsible way, because buying consumers is very easy. Spending money, reduce the price, go lower than your COGS, and it's very easy to build a business, but very difficult or very disciplined way to acquire consumers to build a profitable business.
Thanks, Priyanka. Abhishek, what is your take? Then we go to Manas.
Our category of eggs is in food, right? So the core of any marketing, be it consumer acquisition or retention, has to be the product. If your product is not differentiated, if it's not consistent, then you should not hope for even say, second purchase from the consumer, and not hope for the margins you are expecting to make. Now, that being said, eggs as a category is a staple product. It's a extremely low involvement category. Today, the awareness and education about the quality or the value chain for eggs is very minimal, and it's in its early stages. So for people, it's like, anda to anda hi hota hai. So no one is thinking more about it. So our job, since we are the first mover, our primary job is to educate the people, because right now it is largely an unorganized market, and if we have to brand it and shift it to package and then hope that consumers will come to us as the brand, the first priority is to educate the masses about what's going on in this industry and why you should care. Second is to show them the proof is by inducing a lot of trials. So even today, after running the brand for 2.5 years at our scale, we still rely on a lot of trials, inducing a lot of trials, showing people the quality, showing them, here, this is how an Eggoz egg tasted, this is a taste, and this is how you were eating your eggs till now, and this is the why of it. So that is, I would say that has worked for us, inducing trial. And then as you start to scale up in a city, you start to cross all of the other local brands and become the largest. Then availability plays a larger role after a certain point of time, because after a certain point of time, because we are a staple product, people will have some level of awareness about your product, and either they would have tried your product, at least once in their life, or they would have known someone who consumes Eggoz eggs. Post that, it's about how well you are available in the counters, how well you are positioned, how well you can say, how well incentivized are your trade partners to promote you and keep you in the front of these stores, so that, with availability, with better product, and with a better storytelling, you can, hope to move to the next orbit.
Good. So this was a completely different model. Educate, induce trials, create awareness, let your product be available, and let your trade partners also be incentivized. I think this is because eggs is not only online, and that's the reason. And you have to go to the every nook and corner of the country or the city or the place wherever you are. Manas, what about you? And then we go to Priya.
Yep. So in subscription, things
Sorry,
work a lot differently, right?
Yeah.
I've been hearing all of you say, and just to put some headline figures out there, we grow more than 2x year on year. Not a huge growth thing, but our marketing spends are less than 5% of our revenue. So having said that, let's talk about how did we acquire these users, right? So subscription is the only business where the incentives are aligned. What do I mean by the incentives are aligned? Unlike all of the companies out here, I actually start with a given revenue every month, because the users who are subscribing, I am providing them a basic need, and hence they will pay. So what do I do waking up every day? I try to get on the whiteboard, try to understand how can I deliver the best possible service to my users. Now, if I'm able to give the best possible service to my users, I still have the existing revenue for my users. Also, my users are going to tell their friends. So today, about 50% of the new customers that I get are directly attributed to referrals, and about 25% of the users that I get can be attributed to word of mouth or organic, as we call it, right? So 70%, 75% of my growth is actually taken care if I just wake up every day, and as a company, we strive to increase our NPS. Hence, we are probably the only company where the head of growth and the head of customer success actually reports into the same person. So yeah, so that's a little bit about how do we acquire users there.
Referrals, organic. Kash,
Giving users better service, more importantly.
that is the reason. Hope everybody, getting up in the morning and says, "Ki 75% of my business comes by referrals." Then I'll sleep for 1 more hour, something like that. But then, did you never have sleepless nights?
Yes, we do have sleepless
And
nights.
what were
but
the
then,
major reasons for that?
whenever a service level slip, we are still a very much service-led industry, right? Service-led. If let us say in Bangalore recently, there are 2 buns that are coming up. One was yesterday, one is a couple of days later. My service levels that I looked at the open tickets that are there, how can we address? So all I'm saying is the incentives are aligned. I wake up every day trying to figure out this 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh users who rely on me for their drinking water. How can I serve them well? To give you an example, right? During COVID, we did not acquire any new users. Supply chain was broken. But we went to the commissioner office, we stood there in the middle of the night, got permissions for our folks, and we provided service to the existing user. Because everything is locked, the person who has trusted me with their drinking water, they can't go without drinking water, or if the water purifier breaks down, I can't deny them service. So we are in that category. So obviously, we do a lot of work, but we do it with one objective: is how can we improve our product, how can we improve the user experience at the end of the day.
Excellent. Aditya, what about you?
I'll keep this short. So
Yes.
when we started out, I think a lot of our acquisition happened through, because we were building a brand with a purpose, and our purpose was for our customer segmentation. A lot of people talk in terms of ideal user persona, etc. I think the way we look at segmentation, we don't over segment. We think people are more alike than different in some of our categories, because laundry detergents चाहिए सबको, घर पे लोग tissue papers use करती है. So these are daily essentials that most people need. While the preference could be because garments are getting more expensive, clothes get less soiled, they're less sweaty. So the care for clothes as a tailwind is very high. So we focus on some of those fundamentals, but most of our user acquisition started out by people who really cared about or were worried about the kind of pollution that we are seeing today, were worried about where we are heading up. So we had a community of about 35-40,000 plus beach cleaners pan India. So there were WhatsApp groups, there were Facebook groups. So essentially a lot of our early user acquisition happened there. And then it was word of mouth, because I mean most of these categories that we are operating in today, we are the only players who are giving these eco-friendly plant-based all natural products at a price point which is similar to a Surf Excel or a Vim or a Lysol or any of these market leaders. So that really helped us. So fundamentally building this product right, getting the pricing right, and then sort of using larger tools to acquire customers. So we are less than 10% of our spends is on Facebook or Google.
Okay.
We don't actually rely on performance marketing at all. Even our category a lot is offline.
Okay.
With a local mom and pop kirana store, modern trade store, etc. So we have promoters and people who pitch the idea of what we are trying to do as a brand, but I think it's still very trial based. People like to use it before they want to buy it.
Sure. Pradeep, how do you acquire customers?
Yeah, so I think I'll divide it into 3 parts
Please.
that anybody who wants to sort of run the business should look at: product, distribution, and brand. Right, 3 layers. When you start off with getting the right product, right, because it has to fit everything that a consumer needs. You try to, in the 0 to maybe 25 to 50 crore-ish sort of journey, I think what you need to crack, so you might try different things, but what you need to crack is some early set of products doing well in one distribution channel, right? So if you're finding one way of acquiring customers, one way of selling, so for example, D2C brand hai, so maybe for us, for example, Meta worked well, right? So identifying that one good performance marketing channel and one way to sell through D2C is important. I think the 50 to 150, 200 crore journey, you could say that, okay, online is my DNA, which means on top of D2C, I will add marketplaces as well, which is where, like how Priyanka said, along with Meta and Google, now I'll add Amazon also as another player that wants to eat as much money out of brands in the same tune of, how much we spend over there, right? But that journey kicks in for the 50 to 200 crore journey. It might vary a little bit based on category to category, but I think 50 to 200 crores is saying D2C bhi hoga, marketplaces will also be there. Then starts offline in my view from 200 plus. But what it means is from a DNA point of view, offline is totally different, right? So you can't start, ki chalo we are at 200, let's start offline today. I think that is too late. And then in offline, of course, you have your EBO, modern trade, general trade, and based on that, you look at how consumers purchase from your category. And typical answer is to go there, but then atypical answer that results in great outcomes is like sleep company to say, nahi aisa nahi hota, aise bhi kar sakte hain, right?
Yes.
And when that you have back to what you have in terms of your product, I think that's great. In all of this, brand gets missed at all points, right? I mean, large companies have, high 10% to sort of, because they just invested in brand for so long. But when you start, you don't want to start with brand building. It's too hard, right? Aaj spend kiya, kya milega, kab milega, milega bhi ki nahi milega. Those are very open questions.
Yes.
So always say brand at a founder's level have to keep thinking at all points, right? There might not be a person who's consistently being given a brand budget to do that in the 0 to 50 crore journey, but it all flows in every communication you do, and that keeps increasing from.
So just between you and Priyanka, can you answer this same question? Should or should not the owner or the new brand at the initial stage invest in brand building? And this is very open-ended. There is no yes or no, I know. But taking both of your experiences, because Priyanka also strongly, said that, and you are also telling it. So just give your views with your experience with both the brands.
When you start, you invest more of your time in thinking of brand than money you put into building the brand. Time dena padta hai. You have to think like blue color is intentional, right? Those are decisions that will live for lifelong. But from the 50 crore plus journey, maybe you put more money than time into it, if I have to sort of high level break it down.
Okay, Priyanka.
Just a little perspective, Hitesh. So I think brand building and performance or conversion, I think sometimes are very abusedly used words, and I'll tell you why. Most of brands PNL would put brand performance marketing above your CM2 and brand building after your CM2. So, some people categorize A as brand building, B. In the early journey, when I say brand building, I'm talking about, are you spending money on building the top funnel? That I think for us didn't make sense in the beginning, because in the beginning you are spending, because you have limited money, you're spending money to drive conversion. So that to me I'm categorizing as performance marketing. But it's not just about the money spent. You are interacting with your consumer across the ecosystem. The product you sell is building the brand. The communication I send with the product I sell builds my brand. What I show in my creatives of even performance marketing, though I'm driving a certain creative saying the conversion objective should be people buy on Shopify website. Purchase is the objective or add to cart is the objective. That's why I'm calling it performance marketing. But what am I showing in that creative? Am I showing 40% off starting 2999? Or am I showing that, guys, I am India's first and only smart grid mattress for peaceful sleep? That content builds the brand. So I think that brand building has to be there from day zero to the day the brand exists. That can never go away. And that to me is hardcore brand building, but without spending money. Right? And that I think is non-negotiable. Without
organic.
that you cannot build the brand.
Sure,
right?
sure. Organic. Last, Aarti, your views on this.
I think most of the things panelists have covered, right? So I won't repeat. I think in our case, what we realized was something that has become extremely important is working with the medical professionals, right? Because we realize a category like this, you typically go, like we saw 15 to 20% of a dropout happening because they consulted a medical professional and the medical professional is not aware of the brand. So we are investing in actually building relationship as well as educating the be it gynecologists, be it dermatologists about the innovation behind our products. I think that's just a bit different route because of the category that we operate in. Otherwise, most of the things other people have covered.
Thanks. Times is up, so we'll ask few questions. We'll take some questions from the audience, if there are any, before I summarize. Any questions? Okay. We'll come to Nirajita. Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'm Kanchan from Reliance Retail.
And sorry, request, please ask questions. Don't give any statements. Only the relevant questions, and if possible, you can, name the panelist also. Otherwise, any of our panelists can answer an open-ended question. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask this question to Priyanka. How are you leveraging analytics for brand building or the campaigns?
The data is very, very powerful, right? But I'll give you one or two examples of how we use data, right? First is we started as digital. When we started going offline, we didn't know where to open stores, right? And the best data was our own data of what pin codes, one, consumers are buying me from, two, what pin codes consumers are visiting my website from. I just needed to remove the friction. People knew my brand. So today also, anybody who buys in my stores, they have found me, discovered me online. It's just that they wanted to touch and feel the product and went. So I think the pin code level data, today also every single store we open is basis the data of where consumers are coming searching us from. So Google data of searches, buy mattress online, what pin codes people visit us. So that's one place of how we would leverage data, right? Two, even in your spends, marketing spends, I say performance marketing or even spends are like trading, right? You need to be very agile. You can learn any single creative works or not, any single campaign works or not, very, very fast in the digital ecosystem, and the data shows it. And for different campaigns, you could have different metrics, right? So I think we are very agile, and that's why I am a big fan of building teams in-house, not having partners to do specifically your core, let's say, performance marketing. And as I think somebody said, that it's very important to build the right team, right? So I think, to me, everything we do is revolves around data, but those are the two examples I'll give you.
Yeah. Any next question, please? Yeah, please.
So I'm giving you an open-ended question here to all the panelists. This is an understanding that I want. All D2C brands, there is a certain identification of a brand that you start with when you launch a new brand. Now, either you can launch as an Apple, where you are a premium brand altogether from the start, or you launch yourself as probably a basic mass use brand, right? So based on which you also price your products, right? I want to understand, what do you prioritize? Do you look at as a brand that you want to put yourself at a premium position so that you can establish those kind of users coming to you? Or do you prefer pricing is at a mediocre level where you want to touch masses? I want to understand the pricing versus branding. Who can answer that for
Pricing
me?
versus branding.
Yeah. What do you prioritize?
Any take? You can just think whatever your views are.
Yeah, pricing is make or break in India. There's no doubt about that. Doesn't mean the cheapest will sell, right? The nano car is a famous example of that, right? So I think the strong belief that if you can price for the value you deliver, that's great. It's also a function to some extent of what's currently happening in the market and category. So where there are white spaces, which is crowded, or rather let me put it this way, all spaces are crowded, right? Which is less crowded compared to others, right? Then comes the function of what product you're developing, what is the gross margin you want to operate in. And I think when you start also function of the DNA of the founders itself, right? Because there's some ways that flows into, there is a way to do luxury marketing, there is a way to do premium, there's a way to do mass premium marketing, there's a way to premium, sort of do value marketing. So in all of these spaces, you'll find winners and losers in all of this. So it's really a function of all of that. And the last piece, of course, is also how large a business do you want to do and what's your ambition. And sometimes it's tough to go from a certain price point to go up. Sometimes a higher price point product can come down, but that can have an impact on your the face as well. So you start with something and all of these factors come in. So these are the scientific factors, but I think there's also a heart and qualitative feel saying ki ye karte hain, and this is how I think I would like to build something,
Right.
which is a founder DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, because let's say an Apple, right? There's a certain quality that it's identified with. And then no matter what the cost, people go for the brand and they buy the new iPhones. Maybe Xiaomi as a brand had established itself with a reasonable price. Now let's say they come up with the same features, equally good product, but as a user, nobody will identify, or very few people will identify as ki, haan, it's same as iPhone at a cheaper cost, let me get Xiaomi. Apple will stay with Apple, right? Whether you choose to position yourself at that level from the start, because you can't, like you said, right? You can't increase your price suddenly because maybe your cost is higher, right? A cost at a particular product, your cost was fair enough, decent, you got a decent margin. Now you have spent a lot more for a better product, and then you would have to keep the same margins and you would increase the MRP of the product. So at that point, your brand takes a hit, right?
Yeah, I would say if you know there is an Apple, then and you feel that the probability of success is tougher and lower, etc., why try to build an Apple in that category, right? Because how much ever you have all the A-listers say that this is as good as an Apple. First is customers already thinking Apple because you're saying it's as good as them, right? And then they're comparing feature set. And again, it's a function of category and all of that. I think Apple, Nike is also over-abused examples. They've just executed it so well. So if you start in all, I mean, for everything that we've discussed, somebody has always said, but dekho, Apple ye karta hai, Nike ye karta hai. I say, boss, then you should have invested in Apple and Nike, na? You didn't, and you're talking to me. So that is an over-abused example in my view always. Right? Aspire for higher standards, but no doubt.
Good. Romita, please.
Thank you.
I actually will just say price is not a linear function of कि जितना मैं price करूँगी उतना मेरा success है. Like we don't launch brands and say I'll launch at 300 so that at some point I'll move to 1000 and make more margins. Apple and Xiaomi serve different TGs. Apple TG will not buy a Xiaomi phone, and a Xiaomi TG, trust me, even the day they have that money, most likely will move to another Android phone. They are not moving to an Apple phone. So that's why, like even in skincare, like 200 ke niche is the Fair and Lovely market. 200 se 800 is the Masstige market. 800 ke upar is a Clinic market. Probably even if Priyanka and Aarti are, if like say Clinic users, no matter how much they like the pitch of Foxtale or not, they are at that TG. Moving TGs between price point is difficult. You identify your TG and that becomes your TAM, then you solve for that TAM. So I don't think it's the right comparison that can a lower price brand go up, can a higher price brand come down. I strongly believe both can't happen. But I don't think as founders we are trying to do that. We've identified our TG, we very well know our TAM. We try to identify our TG where the TAM makes sense. And then we solve for it. Dynamic pricing is not at least something I believe in. And I don't think most founders are trying to do that in the D2C world.
Last question. Okay. Neeraj, you can no wait, but we can't wait because we will have to close now. Okay, ठीक है. Thanks for that, Neeraj.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Priyamvada. I'm from Blitz Logistics.
Loudly, please. Yeah.
My name is Priyamvada. I'm from Blitz Logistics. My question is aimed at Romita. You mentioned conversions, right? What do you consider the critical levers of conversion, and how did you get it from the industry standard that you're saying, which stands at 112% to 6%?
Data analytics, someone asked that question. That's the power of tech is pure data analytics and what your tech product ends up learning. Levers for it is there will be who use landing on your page, right? Like my category is not high intent like mattresses. It is also an impulsive category. But the moment you are making a purchase, you're able to identify in your marketing funnels whether this is a high intent purchase or not at that given point of time. So being able to channelize your traffic, which is relatively easier when you're not necessarily just building out your top of the funnel. We only identify who is in our top, whose probability to move to the middle of the funnel is very high, whose probability to move to bottom of the funnel is very high, and that's whom we concentrate in terms of landing on the page. Then after that, customer segmentation matters a lot. For us, there are 9 customer cohorts that I'm able to identify the moment you land on my website. And basis that the URL paths that I will lead you to will be very different. So you might be a customer who is only ready to pay 500 rupees to me. There is no point I'll show you combos and I'll show you AOV builders, etc. I will show you a product, 500 rupees, this is benefit led, so that your probability to add to cart increases a lot more rather than you getting confused about multiple things. But if you're a routine builder who's benefit led, let's say brightening is the benefit you're looking for, but you're a routine builder, I know I can play you with AOV. And if I show you brightening also, acne also, pigmentation also, glow also, you're very confused what to put in. So I will do a very targeted URL path for you, which is AOV builder, but focused on brightening. That increases my probability for you to increase add to cart. Add to cart to checkout, your payment gateway plays a huge role, right? Today you have a lot of platforms like the GoQuicks of the world, etc., that do that one-time checkout. But at the same time, they will also tend to increase your COD purchases, etc. So all of this is useless if your RTO is very high. So it's very important that your RTO is less than 7-8% ideally, right? So how are you being able to capture users, right intent users, which can minimize your RTO, but at the same time maximize the add to cart to the final purchase that's happening? They're your payment gateway, because when you start off, you will start with not with Shopify Pro. Today, I can completely code that because I'm at the highest level of Shopify. Earlier, you will do a smaller version of Shopify. But there, your payment gateway tech products are quite agile. So working with the right payment gateway that can help you work on the coding of it, back-end coding of it, so that the leakage is the least there. So it depends on where you are on the funnel and how closely you are able to monitor that funnel. That honestly just becomes the leverage.
Thanks, Romita.
Just a
for
follow-up.
this.
Since you mentioned that your category is impulse-driven, don't you think like last mile or like shortening the delivery timeline makes another lever of conversions?
See, it's not my DNA. So
Understood.
Yeah, okay. I think we can take this offline. With this, we would like to end this panel. And I just want to sum it up, what we have spoken in last 1 hour, 15 odd minutes. We did speak about brand, we speak about brand solving the problem, consumer problem. We spoke about brand persona. We spoke about science and comfort. We spoke about digital power, consumer centricity. Output metrics is something that we also discuss, and not the input metrics. Business plus social impact is what we spoke about. Data-driven model, solve the problem, get a new business model. We spoke about users want more. Chase for efficacy was the core at the discussion in the second round. India is a 2-minute noodle market, and that stands, and that's the way India is moving towards. We also spoke about content, platform, product, branding. We spoke about customer intelligent execution on conversions. We spoke about educating, trials, awareness, availability. We spoke about subscription, referrals, organic. We spoke about NPS. We spoke about performance metrics, marketing, product, consistency in communication, and last but not the least is data analytics. All this together make a successful D2C brand. With this, I would like to thank my panelists for sharing their insights with us today. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for being, a patient and a lovely audience. Thanks.